Hello, welcome to Dialectic Art. I hope you guys are having a peaceful time at home. I wanted to open in prayer this morning. This was a special prayer. I don't know if any of you joined in the rosary. So today is Friday as I'm filming this video, and yesterday the 19th, Pope Francis asked everybody if they could do a rosary, and it was 1 o'clock our time, but 9 o'clock in Italy. And this was one of the prayers that he asked us to pray before the rosary, so I thought it would be a good opening for us right now. So go ahead and pray with me in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Mary, Mother of God, and health of the sick, to whom we direct the rosary under the loving gaze of Saint Joseph, protector of the Holy Family, and our families, brings us to the luminous and transfigured face of Christ and his heart. And we ask that he especially protect our families, in particular the sick and those who care for them, doctors, nurses, and volunteers who risk their lives in this service. And we ask you, Lord, to please be with us, and we just thank you for the opportunity to still be able to do our art lessons, even though we're all separated right now. In the name of the Father, and Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so we're gonna actually be doing our Starry Night project today, and those of you who have got canvases from me, they should be already painted blue. Those of you guys who had canvases at home, it would be a good idea, if you haven't already painted them blue, to paint them blue and let them dry before we start, because we're going to start on that blue canvas. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get the supplies ready. The first thing you're going to need is your canvas and your white pencil, because we're going to be sketching in some things before we start painting. Okay, so here is a picture of Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was a post-impressionist painter, and post-impressionism was a response to the impressionist movement of art. The artists of this period had varying styles, but what they had in common was their individual subjective visions, a peek inside the artists' minds. It's been said that Van Gogh only sold one painting during his lifetime, and this might not be true. What is true, however, is that Van Gogh was not very successful during his short lifetime, even though he was a prolific painter. He painted most of his best-known works during the last 2 years of his life. His artwork gained in popularity in the years after his early death at age 37. So this right here, this Starry Night, painted in 1889, is one of the most famous paintings of all time. Painted with oil on canvas, its dimensions are 36.52 inches by 28.7 inches. So you guys should each have a copy of this painting. And if you don't, you'll need to print one out from the lesson plans. But I want you to take a good look at your painting and your copy of the painting, and observe that Van Gogh used heavy brush strokes and a liberal use of paint. He put a lot of paint on the canvas when he was painting. So we're going to try to do a technique like this when we're painting our reproduction of the Starry Night today. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be doing, and I asked you to get out your white pencil here, is we are going to be sketching in some of the elements from the Starry Night onto our canvases. All right, so if everyone has their Starry Night painting in front of them and they have their blue canvas, and your white pencil, it's time to start. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to sketch out this cypress tree there on your left-hand side. So that's this big black-looking tree. It's kind of like a bush. And so you're going to take your white pencil and you're just going to sketch the shape of that out. It's almost like we're going to be making a coloring page in a way. And then we're going to be painting that in once it's time to paint. So you're just going to do your best to put in the shape of that tree. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just somewhat of the same shape that Van Gogh used when he was sketching his tree. And where I'm working outside today, it's such a beautiful day. I hope you guys are all getting a chance to get outside. I know we need to stay basically away from people. We've been taking walks and in the woods and getting out on the deck here, which is really nice. Okay, so once you have this cypress tree here sketched a little bit, I'm hoping you guys can see the white. I know it's not too clear. Maybe I can do it a little bit darker so you guys can see. And like I said before, we don't have to make it perfect, but try to look at the shape of the tree, not necessarily what you think a tree looks like, and draw a tree, because this doesn't look like a regular tree, right? And in all of art, we want to be doing that. We want to make sure that we're looking at the shape that we're drawing. If we're drawing a house, we don't necessarily need to picture a house in our head and draw it. If we're looking at something, we can just try to draw those lines and those shapes that we see in front of us, and that helps us. Okay, so number 2, we're gonna sketch a crooked horizon line along our painting. And you can see here on Van Gogh's painting that he has the horizon line here. He was looking at hills in the background. So we're going to sketch in, and some of these hills are going to be closer, and some you're going to see in the distance. He's got a lot of perspective in there, right? So I'm going to bring this one hill down right here, and then we're going to have one further in the background that comes up and down. Okay, and then let's see, we have one here, and then we've kind of got to have a bigger rolling hill right here, and one that comes all the way down near the steeple of the church. And it kind of has a couple little bumps here and then up off into the distance. We have some more. And then we've got some darker ones that look kind of a little ominous here on the side. And there we go. We've got our horizon line put in at that point. Okay. So number 3, we need to add our large main cloud swirl in the top third of the canvas. So you can see he's got a lot of swirly clouds going on through here, right? But this one right here, I think this would be our biggest swirl, and kind of goes off this way too if you want to. But we need to kind of sketch that out so that we know where it's going to be on our canvas. It's not taking up too much room or not enough room. So I'm going to start here in the corner, and I'm going to go up and just make this big swirl. Okay, our big swirl. And then over here we've got a smaller squirrel, not a squirrel. We've got a smaller swirl that we're putting in and kind of making go around. Okay, and this is kind of giving us the shape. You can put a few lines in there to show the direction of where you're going with this. A few different swirly lines in there. And then this one actually swirls. It swirls through, and it swirls around right here and back down. So you can make a couple little lines going through there so that you have the big swirl on your canvas. Okay, so then next on the right hand, the upper right part of your canvas, you're gonna sketch the crescent moon that we have going on here. So this moon is gonna be right over here. Here it is on the starry night. So it's gonna be up here on the top of our canvas. We're going to make a nice round moon. And then you're gonna make a crescent this way, and then make a smaller crescent right there and join the lines together. And then if you want to, you can make a very faint circle around it. You can keep circling a little bit because we have all that great light coming from the moon in the picture. Okay, so number 5. We're going to add circles in the locations where the stars are. And the original painting here has 11 stars. So we can locate those 11 stars, or you can choose to put in a little bit less if you feel like you don't have that much room. It is your painting, even though we're making a reproduction here. So I'll be like Bob Ross here, make some happy little stars, right? So we're going to start right here. Or I'm going to start right here. You can start with any of the stars you want, and you're just drawing a circle, just the circle part of the star. And some of these are smaller, like this one up here, right here, is much smaller than this one over here. This one that's next to our tree is well, it's about the same size as the one in the corner, but it's a different color. It's more yellow. So when we're painting, we'll have to pay attention to that. And we're gonna go over and do another small one up here. You guys able to see these? Hopefully. We'll do another small one right here. So how many do we have so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we know that there's 11 total. We've got a big one over here. It almost looks like a sun, but we know it's not. It's a star right here. And another one over here by the moon, but smaller. Okay, we have one that's kind of on the edge of our swirl here, small one. We've got one right next to the tree, and then one little bit up and to the left near the edge of our canvas, a small one there. And then we've got a really big one right here in between our swirl and our tree. And the circle for it's not that big, but the swirl around it is going to be very big. Okay, so did we get all our stars here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, I think we did. Okay, so now, since we have all of our circles in place, and if you guys are wanting to take more time with your picture, then I think it's a good idea to pause once in a while during this video and take a break and go ahead and finish your stars. Even if I go on, if you're not done, you can pause for a minute. Okay, so now we're going to sketch number 6 here. If you guys have your directions printed out, we're on the sketch important items on the canvas part. Number 6 says to sketch the lower hill. It's on the right side below the dark blue hill, and it's not drawn in our example page, but you could draw in the lower section of the hill. So I'm not sure if they're meaning the I've already done this lower section, but I'm thinking maybe we could put in these trees or bushes that are along the horizon here. We're getting closer to the village, and we could put in some bumps where that is. We could do that. Okay, and just over to where the church would be. Okay, at this point, we're going to add the church. Number 7, add the church and a couple of houses. And the important thing to remember here is that the rooftops should be drawn horizontally, parallel to the top and bottom of the canvas. So we want our roofs to be going horizontally so that we're not completely forgetting our perspective here. Okay, so we will sketch in I'm going to go ahead and turn my page so that I can see their example at this point also. Okay, so if you do have your lesson plans out with you, this whole time while I'm doing this, you could be looking at these, which are the sketches. That they kind of go step by step as well. It's just up to you if you want to use that or not. Okay, so at this point, we're figuring out where our steeple is for our church. And we've got our horizon line for the mountains, and we've got this one that comes down all the way to here. And this one kind of meets up with where the steeple of the church is. Let me turn mine a little bit so that I can see it a little bit better here. And the steeple of the church it's pretty much a big, tall triangle, right? So we're meeting right here, but if you notice, the bottom of that triangle isn't down. You can go down to our line that we just sketched, the last one we made that was bumpy because of the bushes and the trees there. And then we're gonna go just a little bit lower than that. And that's where our triangle is gonna start. Our tiny, this line should be pretty tiny, but then we're gonna make a rather large line that goes up just beyond the top of our horizon line, so our highest hill. So we're gonna make this steeple go up and then down. So that right here is going to be a very tall, skinny triangle for us. And at that point, we can start sketching in the church. So at that point, it looks like the church comes down just a little bit more, and there's some sort of window that has a curved top that I'm going to put in right there at the bottom of my triangle. And then at that point, the church looks the bottom part looks a lot like a house. So we're going to be making a roof that goes down and over this way. We're trying to make our roof kind of line up with perspective. And then it's going up on this side and down, and then down to the ground there. So on this side, we can make our roof go up a little. It looks like a triangle too, down like that. So we've got kind of like a house. We've got a triangle here and a line connecting them, and a triangle over here. We're gonna draw down the bottom. Now mine, I can see that I should have made this up a little higher because I don't have as much room down here, but that's okay. It's okay. We're gonna do our best with our reproduction. It does not have to be perfect. Mine is certainly not perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and put another curved window in right here. Make a little line for that side of the church right there. And then we're gonna continue this roof down about to here where the other one was. And then we've got a corner of the house here, or of the church. It looks like, this part of it looks like a house to me. And then over here, a door. You see that door there? And then we've got some bushes coming up above the church right there. So instead of drawing it all the way down, we're going to just have a bush be at the bottom. After that, we're continuing our line this way, still trying to keep parallel with our top and bottom of our canvas. We're gonna go ahead and continue our roof right here, and then right here. Okay, so we're making a line here, and we're connecting it right here. And then we're gonna make it continue down to here. And we've still got some of these little rolling bushes, rolling hills that we can make for the bottom. Okay, now, oh, and we connect the steeple right here to the church itself. Okay, so now you've got your church sketched in. And that really is a focal point for the picture if you're looking at the picture. Oh, I've got my cat. I don't know if you hear her meowing here, but she's climbing across my lap. Okay. All right, so at this point, you can add in some houses. And I've made my church too far down to add too many, but I can still put in some of these ones on the side here. So, and there is one over here too, and you can just see the roof. We could make a line here, and a line down here, and you can just kind of see the outline of the house. And this one is the one that's kind of a brown rust color there, and it mostly has bushes in front of it, so you're not seeing much of it, you're just seeing that little edge of it right there. All right, and then so over here on this side, we're gonna sketch in a few houses. Like I said, my church got a little bit too far down, a little bit too big. But we're gonna put in some other ones, and it's your choice. You don't have to do all of them. I'm gonna put one right here. And this one, a lot of these you can just basically see the roof of. You cannot see the entire structure. And sometimes the roof has some lines on it like that to give it a little bit of texture. And maybe a window right here. All right, and these houses, you can put kind of, some of them look like one on top of the other because they may be a little close together, and also from our perspective here, from Van Gogh's perspective. Some of these are in front of other ones, right? So it may look like some of them are right on top of each other, but that's because of the perspective. And we could put in some windows, some marks on the roof. Okay, so I've got a couple buildings in here. I'll put one over here, start with the roof. And if you notice, some of these ones, the perspective over here, it's almost like we're looking at it a little bit differently. The angle's a little bit different with these ones over here. I can't quite see as much of this side of it. And we're gonna go down. Sometimes you can see just a little bit of paneling on the roof or on the side of the building. Just add a little bit of that there. But we're just gonna make as many buildings as we feel like is giving our painting the perspective that it needs, so that we know what's going on here. I think I'll make one more small building here. Okay, make one more little house. Okay, so at this point we kind of have our little village and we have our church. We can add in a few of those bushes in different places, especially over on this side. There are quite a few bushes there. Okay. All right. Okay. One thing to remember when you're doing these houses is that they're basically rectangles and triangles that we're using here. So the side of the house is basically here a rectangle, and then the roof is basically, or our roof edges like here are basically triangles like this. And so that sort of makes it a little easier if you think of it that way sometimes. Okay. All right, at this point, you are gonna wanna get out your paint. So you guys are gonna need something to mix them on. You guys that I gave palettes to, you're gonna wanna get that out now. We're gonna need white. And if you're looking at your lesson plans, we have a little chart here. We've got, as far as paint colors, let's see if I can get that in there. All right, we've got white and then white plus yellow to make a light yellow. So you're gonna wanna put white in one of your little spots on your palette, and then white plus yellow, then straight yellow, then orange, green, and you're gonna make some dark green. And the way you're gonna do that is to add just a little tiny bit of black into your green until you've made it, mix it up really well until you've made a nice dark green. And then your light blue. And the way you make a light blue is to take that blue that you have and mix just a little bit of white into it. Okay, so go ahead and mix your paint. Oh, I'm forgetting some here. Okay. And then you're gonna need dark blue, brown, and green and black mixed together. That is gonna be, let me move this so we can see it. Whoop, there we go. Okay, so you're gonna need your dark blue, brown. You're gonna need to mix your brown, green, and black, because that's gonna be your cypress tree. It's actually, sometimes when we're painting, we have to mix a lot of colors to make it a little bit more realistic looking. And then black, straight black we're gonna need. Okay, so go ahead and get out your paints and mix them, and I will be right back. I'm gonna do the same. Okay, here we are back. I've mixed my paints, so I've got all my colors there, and in the middle I have my mix of brown, black, and green, which kind of turned into a swampy green color, but it kind of does match the color of the tree, the cypress tree here in the painting. So at this point you are free to paint and interpret the painting. Make it your own, make it your own. I just ask that you do the best that you can do and take the project seriously. And then at the end, I would love for you guys to post your completed paintings. I'll go ahead and paint with you for a little while, and then I'm gonna let you finish painting, and at the end I'll show you what mine ended up like. But in case anyone wants to see Tabby, she's been hanging out with us here. What do you have to say for yourself, Tabby? Anything? Nothing? All right. Okay, so let's see. Let's get this set up so that you guys can see. That is not so that you can see. Okay, there we go. See my painting again? All right, there we go. So don't forget to have some water with you to rinse out your brush in between paints. Okay, and of course you don't have to worry about painting it blue, because we already have blue, a blue canvas already done. So I'm going to start, I think, with my stars, and I'm going to use a little bit of my yellow, and noticing that the smaller part of the stars is the darker yellow. And you can kind of see when you're doing this that the canvas shows through a little bit. If you want to add a little bit of orange in with that too, just to make it a tiny bit of orange, because probably if, as you've noticed, if you're adding a darker color in, you usually want to start with just a tiny amount. And with these, I was using my square brush here, but I think I'm gonna switch over. Okay. So I hope you guys can hear me. There's all kinds of neighborhood kids out playing out here, but they're all having fun. Okay, so I'm going to use this brush because my other one was a little bit too wide for what I was trying to do there.
No, I know what she's trying to do. She's trying to leave her foot out so she doesn't have to be it.
Okay. And it already starts to look like the painting once you get the stars in there, doesn't it? It already looks much brighter. And with the blue and yellow, it really starts looking like Starry Night. I'll have to show you Ryan's painting as well when he does it. I told him he could be in the video and paint with me today, but he had some other work he had to finish. So he's actually going to do what you guys are doing and watch the video. Whoops. I made a little mistake there, and then the other thing you can do if you have made a little mistake like that is wait for it to dry. But actually with this one, I think I'll be having a halo around that. But if you do make a mistake, you can wait for it to dry, and then I could put just a smidgen of blue over the top of that if I wanted that to go away. Okay. So I'm gonna put in my stars. I love looking at stars, like in the night sky, and unfortunately a lot of times there's lights around where we live. But in the summertime, when we're able to go camping, I absolutely love to look at the stars. They're one thing that really reminds me of God's protection over us. And that's something that during this time we all need to remember, right? That God made us and loves us, and He's watching over us even through these uncertain times that we have right now. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do my moon here. Okay. The kids were getting pretty loud out here, so I didn't even know if you guys could hear me for a moment. But at this point, I'm going to go towards my lighter yellow because I have my moon and my stars, the middle of them in. And you can see some of them look more yellow than others, like this one right here. And it looks like there's little swirls that go around like this. And the little swirls make up a halo on each star. It's almost like when you squint your eyes and you look at the stars through that. Okay? So you can go ahead and make a halo. Some of it you can use your very light yellow that you made. Some of it you may want to use a bit of white. This one down here has a huge halo around it. And it's done mostly in white or in a very light yellow. Okay. And if you see, it's not just all filled in. I'm using some short brush strokes. And like we talked about before, you can put a lot of paint on your canvas because he used a pretty good amount of paint here. And you can leave spots of more texture on. And then if you have too much blue, you can always go in there really lightly and cover them over. But we're just going to keep going with it until we get it as big as we want it to be. I'm going to make mine probably a little bit smaller just because my swirl is starting to get in there. And if it's a little too dark or something, you can go ahead and add in your white. Add in more white until you get it to just where you want it to be. And then you're going to do the same for all of these and the moon. And at that point we can start adding in our swirls in the sky too. This is really a fun painting to make. Alright, so at this point, I've got all my stars and my moon done, and I'm starting to work on the sky. And as I was doing this, I wanted to kind of let you guys in on something that was helpful to me. And that's sometimes what I'll do is take a big block of white and a gloss of light blue on my concession scene, something like this, mixed together. And I just put it right on here and let it mix as it goes. And that gives me some streaks of white and some streaks of blue. And like I said before, don't be afraid to put a lot of paint on your canvas.
Memory foam out of the bedroom.
And if you look at Van Gogh's, there's also little tiny bits of black in there. You have to be careful. I wouldn't necessarily put all the black in with my brush here because it might make your sky too dark, but maybe you could add a tiny bit as you went. But having the blue and the white mixed together like that gives you some of that movement in your painting without having to paint each stripe. It kind of gives it more of a natural movement, if you can see how some of that worked in there. So that was just a little tip for that as you paint your sky. So I'll let you go ahead and keep painting your sky. And you guys can pause, like I said before, this video at certain times if you need to just continue your painting and then go on when you're ready. Okay, so at this point, I have my sky pretty much done, and I wanted to get those light colors in there. I also decided to paint the windows of some of my buildings down here and highlight some of the hills, and that kind of echoes that the stars above, right? It kind of gives us a balanced feeling for the painting. And now I'm going to add in some of my dark colors. I didn't want to put my light colors on after because sometimes it causes them to mix. So at this point, I think I'm going to start mixing a little green and doing a little bit of work with those hills, but also we have to add in some black and dark blue. Right, so at this point I've done a lot of my hills in the background. And I'm starting to do my main tree here, the cypress tree. There were a lot of swirls over here where there are some bushes, and more swirls over here where there are some bushes. I had to mix some black and highlight with some white. You guys can experiment with that. But one thing I was going to say that really helps when I'm making the trees, the same thing as the sky. I dip into my dark green, my light green, together, maybe even a little of the swampy green that we made. And then I'm gonna put it right on my tree. In fact, I want a little bit more of this light green to show up. So I'm gonna put a little bit in. And that way, the colors end up being streaked a little bit, because we're trying to put a lot of color on there, and I want it to be dark, but I don't want everything on here to be dark, right? We want to see the brush strokes. So if we do it that way, we can see the brush strokes. Okay, so I'm finished with my tree now, and I added a few more green highlights, and also some brown. If you look carefully, there is some medium brown in the tree. And I just kind of want to direct your attention down here to the bottom. Do you see how most of the painting is swirly lines and there's so much great movement in the painting? But down here, right below the church, you can see there are some straight lines. And so down there we'll want to add those in. And then paint your buildings very carefully, highlighting them, outlining part of them in black, just very thinly and carefully. And at that point, I think we'll be just about done with this painting. Okay, so here's our finished product. Reproduction of Starry Night. And that was a fun one to paint. I hope you guys are having as much fun as I did painting that. Once we get down to the village, you kind of want to outline with black. Outline those windows and doors. And some of the roofs you see almost look like they're striped, so you can see the texture of the roof. But I would love to use these for showcase. So if you guys can hold on to these beautiful paintings, we can put them up and display them for that. So send me some pictures if you'd like, and let me know what I can do. We'll be making one more video to improve anything. If you guys need more instruction or less, just let me know what to do. But I will be praying for all of you and your families, and I just wish you the peace of Christ, and I will see you next video. Bye-bye.